without further ado, I would like to introduce the CEO of Advisors 2X, Ross Marino.
Do you remember the first time you put together a financial plan, you had a deliverable, maybe it was a summary letter with action steps, maybe it was a software presentation? Do you remember when you delivered it to a client and that first time when it hit you that this is so good? You knew that what was on that piece of paper, if they would follow the action steps, it was going to be life-changing. You may not have known whether they were going to respond and follow through, but you knew that analysis that you made, this is life-changing stuff, it's so good. Do you remember who that client was? I've got a situation in my mind. And then I think back to, what did the client say, and how are they feeling? And I remember the statements of, Ross, this is really good. I really appreciate this. This is so good. And man, that just felt great. It felt great for me. Obviously, it felt great for them. That becomes the fuel that drove me to learn more, to do more, to go to conferences like this, to take certifications, earn designations, and understand that this business, what an impact it can make on people. Loved it. That was, it was a few years ago. Still love the business. But as time goes on, sometimes we look back and we think about situations we were in and we see them differently. It's not just the hindsight. There's the situations where something happens in our life and we think, wow, here comes the cliche, what a blessing. That was so wonderful that happened. Then a few years later, maybe not so much of a blessing. And we've had the opposite, when something happens that really seems disruptive or tragic. And then a few years later, the cliche comes out, best thing that ever happened to me. Because you just don't know how life's going to play out sometimes. But on top of that, I like to look back at situations and I try to think through it and ask myself, what was really going on there? And I look at those initial financial planning engagements and I just keep thinking through, what was I really doing there? Was it planning? Sure, there was some planning. Was I giving advice? Well, I was giving advice, but specifically the advice was really what and how. You see, the clients would have questions, they had needs, and I would say, here's what you need to know, here's what that means, and then I would say, here's how you do it. And while yes, I was holding myself out as a financial planner, when I look back, I think, I was more of an answer man. It was the client that was prompting a lot of what went on. And then after I was answer man, then it got exciting. I became how-to man. Here's how we do this, right? I got the action steps, and we would do that. That's valuable. That's advice. And in order to do that, I have to gather data, and then I get to share that advice with them. Works great for teaching, seminars, workshops, advice. What people need to know, how they need to accomplish things. That was valuable. I don't think that's as valuable today as it was 20 years ago. Now, 20 years ago, they would come to me because I had those answers. Now they can ask some of the same questions, but instead of me or you, they have Google, YouTube, and yes, the dreaded TikTok. Because that's where you can get financial advice nowadays. What kind of questions are they asking? Same ones they asked 20 years ago. How much money do I need to retire? How much income can I take from my portfolio? Should I pay off student loans before I pay off my mortgage? It's the same questions. There's some great what and how answers that come with that. That was valuable 20 years ago. In this day and age, the fees and the revenue that comes from those activities, they keep declining. I don't think that trend's going to reverse. So as I processed that, I realized, okay, I was getting a lot of advice. But for 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where's this industry going to go? What can I do that will bring value to a client over time? And also, selfishly, what's going to be exciting to me? Because the answer man thing, full disclosure, getting a little bored with it. Right? It's the same questions over and over, and we get to answer them, but I don't think I'm really making as much of an impact when I'm just helping that way. So as I think about this conference, as we're putting together the agenda, I've tried to frame it in my head of what is going to matter 5, 10, 20 years from now. Is it financial advice, or are we going somewhere else? And I'd imagine most of you are already there because you're here. Because you looked at the agenda, you looked at the topics, and you realized this industry is moving to a place it wasn't real active in 10, 20 years ago. That's the human side of financial planning. Well, in order to master the human side, or grow the human side, or make an impact, what do I need to do? Give advice? I don't think it's the advice thing. Do I need better data questionnaires? I don't know if the data is going to help me as much. So if it isn't advice, what is it? I think it's guidance. And to me, what guidance means is helping somebody go somewhere they can't get on their own. It's guiding them to think through things and to make decisions. In order to be a financial planner, I have to know the technical side. I get it, I'm not discounting that. But in order to guide people to make decisions, I have to understand the human side. It means I have to understand how they think. I have to understand what they're feeling and what that means to the decision-making process. Because what I think and how I feel is really important in how I eventually make decisions with that. So how do I integrate that together? How do I take the human side and the technical side, and how do I bring them together? Well, the speakers here, they've got a lot of ideas. They've got answers. There's certification programs here, there's designations that are here, and they're all designed to combine the human side of financial planning and the technical side. And if we can bring that together, I think that's where the industry is going to go. And more importantly, it's a business model where I don't think a computer can replace that process anytime soon. That's the alpha. That's the value that I can bring as a financial planner, to ask people questions and guide them. And here's the cool part about these questions, or at least to me it's the cool part. I can't answer them for the client. Everybody's unique. Their journey's unique. And as I go through Q&A with them, I'm asking questions and they may ask me for the answer. And they'll get what my kids get. Another question. I've often joked that my kids are going to grow up and think, I don't think my dad's real bright. I've been asking him questions for years, and I don't think he ever answered anything. Maybe he doesn't know anything, because I just like to answer a question with a question. Well, that's the guiding process. That's what we do if we're going to help people make a decision that's best for them. And what does that mean? It means helping people understand what matters to them, why they want to have money, why they need income, what they want to do with life, what is fulfilling to them, what does contentment mean to them. We can't answer that for them, but we can prompt the questions, we can guide the conversation, and we can help them figure out what matters most to them. And when we do that, now it's something that I'm not going to get bored with, because now I can take their resources, their assets, their financial planning decisions, and combine them with what matters most to them. That's something that has legs in the industry. Not worried about fees declining on that, not worried about a computer replacing me on that. But if we can get it together, I'm also not worried about being bored, because that is an awesome thing to do. Thank you all for being here. This conference is meant to be the combination of those two sides. There's a lot of great speakers. Engage them. Ask them questions. I know a lot of you know the speakers on the agenda, but you'll also see names and think, oh, I don't know who that person is. By design. There's a lot of advisors in this industry. They love what they do. They're so good at reaching out to clients. They just may not go out and speak professionally on a regular basis, but we love having them here. So take advantage of the time.